Hang on. We got to now do it.
My name is James,
My name is Joey.
and this is the Brothers Padre.
So down, James. So down. My goodness. This is the Brothers Padre, the third emergency episode of the week, and we're going to go over the final acquisition and a little deadline review of the San Diego Padres, how they did in the deadline. But first, right before the deadline ended, the Padres acquired utility backup center fielder and utility guy in general, Jake Marisnick from the Cubs for Anderson Espinoza. This is a weird deal to end on the end of trade deadline, but it's a better bench bat than Jorge Mateo, and I think that's why I went after him. Any quick thoughts, James?
I see people complaining because we gave up a pretty good prospect, but the prospect, due to injury, has only pitched 60 innings total for the Padres, and we've had him for 5 years.
He has we wouldn't have control of him after this year, and there's a mutual option, so both teams have to agree on the next year,
Oh,
both the
okay.
player and the team.
Yeah, I'm okay. I've been saying for a while we need more bench help for people coming off getting hits off the bench, and he will help with that for sure.
As you said in a text to me, well, he has a batting average as opposed to Jorge Mateo, who doesn't have a batting average.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I don't. There's not a lot to talk about. I think he's a fine bench player. I think he's been a fine bench player his whole career, whatever that may mean. So, the only thing I would say about it is that it probably means Jorge Mateo is no longer on the team because Marisnick can also steal some bags here and there, and that's kind of it's kind of like a whatever deal in the scope of our competitive balance. I feel like, yeah, that's all my thoughts. There's not a whole lot of thoughts about this trade. I think it helps. It does help on certain games, but I don't think it's necessarily like a huge addition for the team.
I agree. Again, it's not the worst news. Anyways, I don't know. I
Shall we jump into the kind of like the review of the week?
yes,
Okay. We'll do two parts of this review. One is what happened, and what is the expectations, and then we're going to review it, what we thought about it. So, what happened was that the Padres traded for Adam Frazier, Daniel Hudson, and Jake Marisnick. The cost was Tucupita Marcano, Mason Thompson, Anderson Espinoza, Jack Sawinski, Michelle Miliano, Jordy Barley, and Jordy Barley. Um, all in all, a fine trade deadline. Like you get an all star, a relief pitcher with has a really good stuff. So I don't think it's a really bad trade.
the league
Um,
leader in hits. There's a
yeah,
there's a lot. We got two really key pieces: a really good reliever, a really good hitter, and Frazier will probably be a really good hitter for a while for us. It just wasn't anything that we needed and or wanted.
the expectation, of course, is that we have more bullpen innings than any other team in baseball, and we needed starting pitching to go deeper. We had an expectation that we were going to get a starting pitcher. It wouldn't be we have to kind of talk about what happened with Scherzer. Yesterday, Ken Rosenthal reported that the Padres were close in acquiring Max Scherzer. And then another reporter said we're inches away from acquiring Max Scherzer. And then everyone in Padres Twitter was excited about it. I was excited about it.
I was
We were
excited
all
about it.
very excited about it. It turns out that was probably too preemptive. Whether we don't really know how it broke down or even how close that the deal was when it was reported, but turns out Padres didn't get him. but for 3 hours, we didn't get any more reports. And then all of a sudden, it was like, oh, the Dodgers are closing in to get him for a blockbuster deal, and the Dodgers did get him with Trey Turner. So they got all-star shortstop Trey Turner, and they got Max Scherzer in a deal that balloons their already past luxury tax salary to $290 million a year. So it couldn't have ended in a worse way for Padres fans.
That is true. Yeah, the Dodgers gave up basically 4 of their top 10 prospects and a bunch of cash to the Nationals. And that was the theme for the whole trade deadline was all of the starting pitchers that were up for grabs all went for way too much money. I, for the beginning, wanted Jose Barros from the Twins.
Yep.
The Blue Jays gave up their number 2 prospect and their number 4 prospect for him.
Yep.
Jose Barros, although I'm pretty sure he's a great pitcher, is not worth Campusano and CJ Abrams.
Yep.
And what those two guys' potential are doing. The same thing happened with Grisham. No, what's his name from the Rangers? Kyle Gibson.
Yep. Yep.
They was traded for extremely high value, and he's not worth that. So all of the starting pitchers were. Everyone understood who was trading them that they were going to get a lot of value because the price was just driven up. This was GameStop all over again, but for baseball players.
It yeah, starting pitchers um were incredibly expensive. Even relief pitchers really were expensive. Like Kimbrel was a pretty expensive trade, you know. Nick Madrigal is a really good is a good player, and then they gave up their. I look back at the Madrigal one. I think the Cubs gave up the White Sox gave their number 4 prospect and Nick Madrigal.
Yeah.
Number 5 prospect. So that's expensive for a rental. That's super expensive. I think. Okay, so I think that's kind of our consensus. Let's kind of review it. That was our expectations. Let's go back and what are our thoughts now about it? What are you feeling about it? Like what are your thoughts and feelings about this past week?
I'm left wanting more. I've seen AJ Preller pull off miracles.
Yep.
The problem is, and I can't, for people who are blaming Preller, don't. The man gave us a lot of great players over the offseason. The problem is there were 6 teams selling and 14 teams buying.
Yeah. 100%.
And a lot of teams sold. What was it? I just read that stat that the Nationals gave up 30% of their starting lineup and their major league team. That's insane. And they got a ton of prospects back.
I mean, the Nationals and the Cubs did incredibly well. The Cubs have full on rebuilt their minor league system.
Yeah, especially since what they just got from Bryant.
Yeah, I think. Any more thoughts? Because I have lots of thoughts and lots of feelings.
All right, go for it.
I definitely feel wanting. I definitely feel like we need an inning eater of some sort, and we didn't get it. I do not think that this is a failure from an organizational perspective because we do not have the same kind of coffers that the Dodgers have.
No, apparently they have unlimited amount of money.
We can't add
obnoxious.
on $60 million of payroll just on a whim. That's the way it works, okay? And we understand our place in the economics of baseball. I will say this though, is that we have a pretty wide open window this year and next year. I don't like Daniel Hudson is going to be gone, and so will Mark Melanson. but we can get more closers and we can get more relief pitchers. That's never been a problem for AJ Preller to do, or even to develop those players. I just it's just we went into this deadline thinking that we're going to get players that were going to secure us a strong chance at the World Series, and we just didn't. However, we're still a very good team. We still have great starting pitching, and we still have good relief pitching. We still have great offense. We're still a very good team. We got better this week via trades. We did.
Absolutely.
It's just tough because we didn't want to become better. We wanted to become god tier. We wanted to become dominating. We wanted to get the best possible people at every single position. And then we didn't talk about this also in the review, is that there was floating this idea of we're going to trade away Hosmer's contract. So now we have this problem of like, now we have this guy who might be hindering us from getting players because he costs too much money. And so it's just a kind of a weird, it's a weird way to end it, because it didn't feel like from an organizational perspective we got better than the Dodgers or we got better than the Giants. We're still a very good team. It's just I don't know where I'm going with this really, but you want every trade deadline, you want a huge leap in ability, not just a tiny one. And it feels like a tiny one, and time will tell if it is or not. However, we have to remember that we were still a very, very good team, and that's not going to change after this week.
I agree. Obviously, we wanted Scherzer, we wanted Barros, we wanted a lot of players. And the thing is, we still have a Blake Snell, and if he could get right, if Blake Snell can turn it around, I think we equally as good as pitching rotation as anybody else in the league.
Yep, I agree.
I think if Chris Paddock can probably turn around, and I don't know, I think, again, I've said this since the beginning of the season. If I don't see Mackenzie Gore at some point, because we didn't trade him for some superstar pitcher, and they keep saying he's going to be an impact in the second half of the season. I would like to see it. I would like to see our number one prospect make an impact.
I agree. I think that we have to remember that we have guys that, when they're right, are unbeatable. The problem is right now they're not unbeatable. And then we have this, like I said, Mackenzie Gore, and it's like, when does he fit in? And how he fits in is like, if Blake Snell is struggling, I think it's time for a Gore audition, right? It's time for this, like, we got to figure something out, because we're not going far if our proposed number one, number two starter, Blake Snell, isn't right.
I agree. And I also think we're playing a lot of sub 500 teams the next month. That's a perfect opportunity to bring up a rookie.
Yeah. We'll see. There's a lot. This is going to be this isn't a gut punch to the organization, not to AJ Preller, because he did say, like, we believe in the rotation we've built. And I think something we talked about in text is, like, we have to remember that last offseason, it was not this expensive for pitchers. Not at all. And he got us 3 good pitchers over the offseason.
And another reason why the pitchers are so expensive, how many pitchers have gone down this year?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Tommy John was run rampant because of the new ball.
Yep.
And the new grip and everything and all the stuff they're doing. They're just, so many players are out there. What was the stat? Every team in the majors has at least 2 pitchers gone out for the season. That's nuts.
Yep. I still think we have a good ball club. I just think the problem is we're now, instead of reinforcements to the pitching core, we've added more pressure to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I think we got better this week. It's just expectation was so high, and we didn't get it, and so now we feel robbed, right?
What? Let me ask
I
you
mean,
this: who do you think was the biggest surprise that happened or didn't happen during this trade deadline
for us or in baseball in general,
in baseball in general?
Trevor Story should not be a Rocky. Trevor Story should have been traded for by any willing team, and I'm sure the Rockies were given real offers. The Rockies are a joke. The Rockies have John Gray, Herman Marquez, and Trevor Story. They are 20 games back. They need to become better. They cannot become better via free agency, and they cannot become better just by replacing one guy. And it to me, it's like malpractice almost, because Trevor Story is wanted by the New York Yankees, wanted by the Mets, wanted by the Giants, wanted by a bunch of people, and they just decided, hey, we like these guys. We're not going to get much. They're going to offer qualifying offers, and then if they reject it, then they get compensatory picks from this person. Like, to me, that's just stupid. Just stupid. Yeah, I mean, just stupid. I don't know how to say it. Just, they have this. They have an attitude. They're the smartest team in the room, but they never do the smartest thing, and it's just never a good place to be in life or as an organization, right? It's just
I think I think they're scared of their own fans because they were. Remember, the ownership, the GM quit because of all the pressure after trading or Aaron Arenado, and they were just afraid to trade Trevor Story. You have an all-star playing for a loser team, and you have two decent pitchers that aren't going to get any better playing in Colorado. It really is. I agree. That is the biggest thing that is just mind blowing. That Trevor Story is still a Rocky.
so same. Do you agree with that?
I 100% agree with that.
It's just crazy, man. Absolutely crazy. Um, yeah, I think that just is a crazy deadline in general for baseball because tons of people were sold and the prices were so high. Pitching just got sent. Pitching was expensive, and it was very expensive, and that's just not something you see. And you had tons and tons of trades, and just not something that you expect. But like I said, there was way more buyers than sellers, and I mean, I mean, kind of like low key one of the better deadline people were the Braves. They revamped their entire outfield, got new bullpen help, and they're kind of putting themselves in a position of like, hey, Mets, we're coming for you. And that's kind of cool. I can appreciate that. Um,
I
it
agree.
just, yeah, yeah,
They're probably one of the bigger winners. I think the Blue Jays should have done more.
yeah, definitely. I definitely think they should have gone a lot more. Um,
But
I
again,
also feel like, go ahead.
I just don't think for they might not actually try to be making a push this year. They're still building up for next year.
Maybe. Um, yeah, and the Yankees did well. Getting Gallo and Rizzo and Haney. Um, the Cubs did for a selling team. The Cubs did very very well. They got tons and tons of prospects, and yeah, uh, it's just a weird. It's I guess I'm as I'm processing my feelings, I realize that we said on I forget which episode earlier. I think earlier last week, a few episodes ago, we were like, oh, it would be like it's a failure on the Padres' part if we don't get another starting pitcher. Like we both said that,
Wish we did.
and
Yes,
you're just
yes, we
like,
did.
man, what are we doing, man? It just, but also you have to wonder like we're not willing to part ways with a variation of two of our top four in any deal. I think AJ would rather do two trades for one of our top fours in each of those than one trade for two of them.
I agree. No,
Yeah.
other than Scherzer, there
Yep.
was no pitcher worth a top prospect. And even Scherzer, you can argue, he's 37. He's only going to be a rental for 60 games. So maybe not even, maybe one top prospect, not two. I think possibly. I don't know. It's disappointing, but again, I understand. It's disappointing, but I understand what happened. It was just a crazy, crazy last minute ditch. Everyone going for pitchers,
And spending lots of money.
spending lots and lots of money, giving lots of players, and the Padres want to be a good team for a long time, and you can't do that giving up your top 10 prospects
Yep.
for rentals.
I agree. But I think some on Padres Twitter and Padre fans are a little annoyed. I think I think that we've had this is there's a potential to say this is the best Padres team ever as constructed or
I
close
agree.
to it. And so why not take advantage of this time and just sell it all? Like kind of the Dave Dombrowski method we did with the Tigers and the Red Sox, which is like, yeah, right now is the time. Just deplete our farm system. Let's get the best possible people right now. And I don't know. I don't know how to. I don't know where I fall on that. I think I understand that consensus of going all in. However, I also like the idea of competing for a while. And so it's a fine balance. And I think obviously organizationally, I think the Padres have shown themselves to be not a drain the farm system team.
No, not at all. But I think that, yeah, I think that's it. I think we look forward to it. I think we're still going to be in the playoffs. There's still
Right.
a lot to love about the Padres. We're still a very competitive team. We just have to now rely more on ever than our stars pitchers. They have to turn it around.
Yep. And that means Paddock too.
Exactly. Yeah.
Uh, James, lots to be positive about with our team. Kind of a downer episode. Only because, I mean, honestly, if we didn't have Twitter, it probably wouldn't be that downer of an episode.
Not at all.
Because Twitter gives us all these like false senses of like, oh, we're gonna get all these great people, and then we get ourselves hyped about it, and like, ah. So next episode will be fine. We'll be talking about Padres baseball, how we swept the Rockies. It'll be great.
Yep. Exactly.
James, anything else to add before we sign off?
Nope. Just remember, Padre fans, brother Padre fans, we are still a highly competitive team. We're still going to make the playoffs. All the players other teams got still have to play.
Yep.
And so I think, again, I don't think the players that the Dodgers and the Giants got push them over the edge of being 10 times better than us. They're not.
I agree. I agree, James. James, shall we sign off?
Yes, please.
Remember to like us on YouTube, follow us at Twitter at Brothers Padre. We're on all the podcast apps. Thank you for your continued listenership. Until next time, go Padres.
Go Padres.